Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the session on SAP CAP for ABAPers. So in the previous sessions, what we had done was we had created an OData service, and we were able to read data from the Northwind customers, from the SAP S/4HANA, the sales orders, and also we had a local entity for the mapping customers as well. So in this step, go ahead and check out 4_associations branch. So in this branch, what we're going to do is we are going to create a new entity named customers. This is going to be a local entity. We are going to add two additional fields, S4 customer ID and orders, and then we are going to implement the read handler for customers. So let's have a look at what we are actually trying to accomplish. So this is the architecture that we have. We are reading the customers from the Northwind OData service. We are also able to read the sales orders from the SAP S/4HANA system, and then we have a local mapping table. But at this moment, they are all disjointed. So when I read the Northwind customers entity, I get the Northwind customers data, and when I read the sales orders, I get the sales orders. But there is no linkage between these two tables. And what we want is we want some kind of a relationship between these two tables. And once we have the relationship, we can execute a OData service that looks something like this. We can read from customers, and then we can do an expand on the orders. And what I want to be able to do is get the customers from Northwind OData service, and then the sales orders from SAP S/4HANA system. So this is my end goal. But at this moment, my customers, the Northwind customers entity and the sales orders entity, they are so disjointed. There is no relationship between them. Now, we don't have control over the Northwind OData service because this is a remote service. So in order for us to create a relationship between these two entities, I will not be able to do it because I don't have control over this Northwind OData service. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a local customers entity, which will act as a pass-through. But what I can do, though, is I can set up a relationship with this local customers because I have control over this local customers entity. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and create a customer's local entity, set up the relationship because I have full control over this customer's entity. And this is going to be like a pass-through entity. So when I make a read call to customer's entity, I will actually return data from the Northwind OData service. So it will look something like this. So if I read the local customers table, I will have a custom read handler that is going to use the CDS query language. We looked at it in the previous session, and I will use the async await pattern. And I will actually read data from the Northwind customers and then send it as a response. But the reason why we are creating this local entity is so that we have full control to set up the relationship between customers and the SAP S/4HANA order system. Okay, so if I go to, and the way we can set up relationship, there are a few ways, like there are multiple relationship patterns, right? There is the one-to-one, the one-to-many, and the many-to-many relationship. So here is an example of a one-to-one relationship. So here we have books, we have authors, and there is a one-to-one relationship between these two entities. And the way you do it is you say association to authors, and what this does is it's going to create an association between books and authors. If you want to do a one-to-many relationship, so what we can do is we can say association to many books. So this is how we would do the association. Now, because this is we are going to create an association with the remote service, we don't have to use this backlink. But if you're going to do an association between two local entities, then you would have to use this backlink. But in our case, we are going to create a relationship between a remote entity, so I don't have to use this backlink. Okay, so let's have a look at the code itself. So here in my code, If I go into my schema.cds file, what I have done is I have moved all the entities. The UI, when we were creating the entities from the storyboard, all these remote entities probably would have shown up in this service.cds file. But the recommendation is to keep all the entities in this DB folder. So what I've done is I've moved all the entities into the DB folder. Now, this is the new entity that I'm going to create. You can do this from the storyboard as well. But I'm going to just show you how you can do this through the code. So all you have to do is just say entity. I'm going to exactly model this entity based on this Northwind customers entity. So I'm pretty much saying customer ID is string, customer name, contact name. So I've added all of these fields in here, as you can see. Now, in addition to that, I have added two additional fields. This one is not necessary, but we definitely need this. The reason why we are adding this local entity is so that we can have this relationship. But I've also gone ahead and added S4 customer ID as well. And I've also added the orders and I've set association to many because one customer can have many sales orders. And I've set this is the entity and I've set association to many S4 sales orders. Okay, so I have this local entity. Now, what I want to do is I want to do my read event handler for this entities, and this is going to act as a pass-through. And basically, we're going to read data from the Northwind customers and then return it. So if I go into my service.js file, and we looked at this in the previous session, as to how we can implement the read event, but this time we are targeting the customer's read event. And in the customer's read event, in the method that needs to be run, what I'm actually doing is I'm reading it from the Northwind customers. So I'm doing a select dot from Northwind customers, and this is going to be my query. I'm going to read from Northwind customers, and then I'm going to return this customers right here. So if I run this CDS watch, what's going to happen is, and if I go ahead and make a call to this local customers, so this is my local customers, I go ahead and make a call. This is going to read from Northwind customers, and it's going to get me the data. So now this is giving me the data, which is good, but what we had done was we had added two additional fields. So I mentioned that we had added two additional fields, but if you look at the response, we don't have those two additional fields because we are not reading anything. We're just reading from the Northwind customers. So in the next session, we will see how we can read those two additional fields. But for now, we're just getting data for all the fields that are in the Northwind customers database. Okay, see you in the next session.